Hello, lovely listeners, and welcome to Worth the Calories. Grab some biscuits and some cake and a cup of tea and join us as we talk about week 4 of the Great British Bake Off. I'm Matthew Vose.
And I'm Catherine Vose.
So this week was Desserts Week.
Mm-hmm.
Desserts Week, yeah. As a course, particularly.
I guess, and I mean, there was baking within each dessert. So there's a cakey dessert, mostly. Well, cakey, biscuity dessert, I guess.
Yeah, so it's not necessarily things you would serve for afternoon tea.
Nope.
It is things you would serve at the end of a meal. Yeah. Okay, I will give them that. Blancmange.
Well, we wouldn't serve it at the end of the meal.
Well,
although probably this weekend we will.
Last week we made naan bread,
Mm-hmm.
and I wanted to follow up on that because we froze naan bread, and we froze the dough, and we recooked the naan bread, and we recooked the dough. What do we think of recooking them?
I think it worked very well. I don't think the dough suffered for having frozen.
Nope, not at all.
And I think the naan that was baked and then frozen also defroze, unfroze. I don't know.
Defrosted and cooked.
Defrosted and cooked very nicely.
Yeah, the ones that we'd already cooked that had ghee on that we then redid on the grill, it obviously became quite a bit crispier.
Yes.
I think I preferred the ones that we cooked from dough as naan because they were doughier, but we also didn't unfreeze the ghee.
No.
So we didn't put any butter on them. So they were just kind of dough.
Yeah, they were.
And very plain.
And I think next time we do it, because we still have some more dough in the freezer,
we do.
It will be to serve with something that is a bit moister. Oh, no, let's not say that. Something
less dry?
Something is less dry. And basically it'd be when I make a curry or stew or something like that.
Not salmon and vegetables.
Not salmon and vegetables.
That was an interesting combo. I'll take it. You could food for me and it's lovely.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Please keep doing it.
Today was not a day where we were going to have a greatly complicated dinner.
No, so that was a success. I'm pleased with that. Right. Desserts. Dessert 1, the signature bake, was a meringue roulade. An hour and 45 to make a meringue roulade. Have you ever made a roulade before?
Nope.
Okay, have you ever made meringues before?
Nope.
Yeah, me neither. Woof.
I have no intention of trying to make meringues after watching your pain. The struggle is real.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know what I do, but meringues just deflate around me. So I was impressed by how these all came out. This, I think, is the sign of people having a really good mixer and just leave it there, mixing and dissolving the sugar.
And I think the confidence to know what their meringue batter should be doing at what point and that, because I think
they added the sugar so slowly from what we saw. Which, it makes such a difference.
And even warmed it up. I thought that was quite interesting. Manon, like warming her sugar in the oven before it went in.
I've done that, and it does work better doing that. But it just takes so much longer, and then you've got to let the oven cool down because you've got to do meringues on a cook.
Yeah, I think for me, I mean, I like it when you make me meringues. That's nice. But for me, because I've not really got a tooth that's quite that sweet, the pain of trying to make a meringue to produce the very sweetest thing in the world, that's probably not going to be something that I will go to.
And that segues us quite nicely to the flavours that everyone went with, because by and large there was a lot of using fruity flavours, using berries for a few of them, the pina coladas and things like that going in. And then there's Bryony who did treacle.
Yeah, I really didn't fancy that.
I mean, I will say this on every round pretty much for Bryony. I think my taste and Bryony's family's taste absolutely match. The stuff that she makes, I always think, oh, that sounds good, that looks good, that's exactly the sort of thing. And a roulade with a sort of treacle and a kind of syrupy thing going on, lovely. I don't think it works in this idea for what they were doing, and particularly not on a very hot day.
No.
When you need things to set.
No, I mean, all I've got written down about Bryony's is seepage.
Moist seepage, in fact.
I'm on a roll tonight. Yeah, for me, I suspect that would have been far too sweet.
Yeah.
Or I'd have had... Or no, actually, I would have tolerated eating it. No, I think I'd have enjoyed eating a very small bit of it with a very bitter black coffee. I think that could have been quite nice.
Yeah. But across the thing, there were cherries, there was pina colada, there was rhubarb and custard. So again,
lime.
yeah, exactly. Very, very good fruity flavours. Really good. I think this is probably the round of the three of them this week that had the biggest difference between how they did.
Yep.
In the end, obviously, the two chaps, Dan and John, got handshakes really good. They looked good. The spheres that John did were interesting.
Spherification. Round
Can you
things.
spherify something?
Round things that then squished.
And we do like round things.
We
but
do.
I'm not sure this was worth the effort he put in for the end result. It was an interesting thing. I suspect if he'd saved that for another week and done it elsewhere, he might have.
I agree. I mean, I don't know whether that was added to how. I suspect that it would have said wonderful.
Yeah.
Even without his semi-spheres, mangospheres. Yes.
Dan's looked good. Had a wonderful spiral. Had a wonderful flavour.
Yeah, I'd have quite happily eaten that.
Yeah, definitely. But the rolls gave a few of them some trouble.
Yes.
And very much it was the people who rolled, I want to say rolled lengthways.
Yes.
So you get less...
Fewer whirls.
Yeah, there's less of your roulade to roll up. And I think there were a number of them where they commented about them coming out really thick. And I think it is the people who did it thick, because if you then roll it width-wise... I'm using them the wrong way around, aren't I? Whichever way, if they roll them the one that would give you more rolls... it just would have been a massive, massive trunk.
Yeah.
Less of a roulade, more of a, branch.
I thought it was interesting that Rahul's strategy was actually his undoing. Because he was so worried about it cracking that he ended up with an underbaked meringue. Yeah.
Which is absolutely risk. And they did talk about this on the show. It's very difficult to pitch that at exactly the right thing.
Yeah.
But again, his was just so thick. When they cut it, you could see it. And there were a couple of them that it just came out. You're like, oh, that is a lot. That is a lot of meringue that has no flavour at that point. It's the filling that needs the flavour. And
yes.
So, yeah, I think this was the one that really actually tested them more than the rest because it was such a solid bake.
Agree.
A roulade is the thing I think most of them would have done anyway.
Yep.
So, it was an interesting outcome. I liked what came of it.
Agree. I want to eat the cherries.
All
the cherries.
Yeah, we've been given them on a couple of occasions, haven't we? Because you like cherries so much, you get those nice pots of Turkish cherries and
Amarena.
Yeah.
Amarena with kirsch.
So we then come to the technical blancmange with raspberries and langue de chat. Is it?
Yes.
Yep. 2.5 hours.
2 hours of which their blancmange was setting.
Yeah.
Clearly needed 3 hours.
The recipe for the blancmange says leave to set in the fridge for 6 hours, if not overnight. These people all had trouble because it was not totally set by the time they got there.
And it was a stinky hot day.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. I don't think this challenge was actually a challenge. It was just a time constraint.
I think they were set up to fail with that blancmange.
Yeah.
I think all of them, their blancmanges would have been fine. Well, apart from Manon, who seems to have frozen hers to death.
Well, yes.
But possibly frozen hers to death out of fear of it not setting.
Yeah.
Because they only had 2 hours.
Yeah.
I think they were just set up to fail with that. It's a bit harsh.
I think so. So we saw the recipe for this before we saw the show itself.
Yes.
And we talked about how this might work. I would have loved it had they done the technical first. Right, make your blancmange. Then you got to leave it in the fridge for 4 hours. Then do the signature. And then come back and do the biscuits and take your blancmange out.
Yeah.
And let's see how you... mix up the show a bit and do something.
Yeah.
It's a shame they didn't sort of work outside. But also, a blancmange where you've got lots of time to set it, it would have been a really close thing. And I think it was fairly close in the end. Like you say, Manon came last. She froze it really long. It did not set.
Yeah.
That was always going to happen. There were a couple where the flavour didn't come out so well, so maybe the puree didn't work or they didn't strain the puree as much as they should have done. But by and large, I've got lots of biscuits were good, colours were good, tastes were good.
Yeah, just a couple of underbaked. Karen, I think her biscuits were a bit poor.
Yeah.
But
there was not much between them,
No.
and I feel like this was not the challenge wasn't quite pitched right.
Yeah, and it was like Dan's did seem to set. But...
Yeah, they kept saying, lost a bit of definition. Yes, because it was almost set. Almost.
Yeah.
But not quite. On the outer edge of it.
Which is like a superb win for that challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. And then we come to the showstopper, the melting chocolate ball over a dessert.
Yeah, interesting. I actually almost think this was like certainly the chocolate sphere aspect of it was more about a technique challenge than a taste. The chocolate, that is a technique. I mean, the dessert inside was about a taste challenge, a design challenge. But yeah, doing the chocolate sphere is almost something that, given the time, they could have done as a technical.
Yes,
because it's that was it was the technical aspect. I think they were royally screwed by it being such a hot day.
Yeah, well, certainly 2 other 3 who picked white chocolate, definitely.
Overall, would you really? I mean, let's say we live in a world where we have dinner parties where we spend like hours and hours making the dessert for the dinner parties. Would you really serve that for a group? I think it could end up being awfully messy.
Not something of the size they did.
Yeah.
A smaller size, maybe. Maybe. You have 6 of the balls that you put the chocolate in, and you leave them set overnight. So the next day you can just crack them out and have them ready, and you do a smaller, maybe you even do a large pie that you then slice up and put these over and then pour it. Yes, I could see doing that, but like you say, it would be, right, we're having a dinner party on Saturday nights, we start baking on Thursday or Friday for it. And every course is a special thing, and we're cracking open 2 bottles of wine and the post-dinner dessert wine. And
even when we've had it in restaurants, it's been individual ones.
Yes.
So for me, the whole giant dessert size chocolate sphere.
Oh, I see what you mean. So you mean serving it in the middle?
Yeah.
I have made a cake, and I have put a chocolate sphere around it, and now I shall pour sauce over it.
And now I'm going to pour sauce over it.
And cut you each a slice.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
No, I just totally don't see that as... I just don't see anyone making these things of that size in reality. You wouldn't do it in a restaurant, because everyone would have individual ones.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, I don't want melted chocolate all over our dining table. You wouldn't serve that to your friends when they came around for dinner. Yeah, it has a major
risk for it, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, like, look at that. I dread to think what John's tutu looked like after they'd slopped that sauce everywhere. I don't know. I think, like, for me, it was almost like they wanted them to make big chocolate balls. And therefore they sort of created this thing that would never actually ever be made in reality.
Yeah, and I can completely see what you're saying about actually make this a technical challenge. Start off, you make the chocolate ball and put it in the thing, and then make some sort of dessert to go in the centre of it, and then we're going to test you by pouring hot sauce
a little
over
mousse in a pot or something like that. Something simple for in the middle, but actually the technicality is, can you make your chocolate ball?
That would have been quite interesting.
Then,
you've made me want to do it though, Catherine, if I'm honest.
Okay, I'm totally buying a rubber tablecloth if you're going to pour.
Talking about this, do you know, the idea of saying I have made sticky toffee pudding, Mississippi mud pie, something nice to sit in the middle that you then put a chocolate sphere over and pour.
Can I make a request?
Go on.
Can it be sticky toffee pudding with a dark chocolate sphere, and then you're pouring salted caramel sauce over the top?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Pour the toffee over the top of it.
Definitely getting a tablecloth.
It sounds quite good though, doesn't it?
Yeah, you can do that.
Could we do it at Christmas with one of the cheap Christmas tablecloths? And you do it with a Christmas dessert? Could you set your Christmas pudding on fire and then put the chocolate sphere over the top of it?
Let's do it at my parents' house, because they don't have carpet in their dining room.
Mr. and Mrs. K, thanks. Ahead of time. Yeah. I actually like the idea of it. The more I think about it, and particularly, okay, so let's get into it. Kim Joy, who basically did profiterole.
Yeah.
That she poured chocolate sauce over, or sort of caramelly chocolate sauce over, that then melted onto them, and became the dark chocolate on the profiteroles with a sauce over the top of it.
I loved hers.
It's genius. And yeah. And now we have a bowl of profiteroles. Help yourselves, lads.
Yeah. And she even gave them little umbrellas to stop too much of the sauce getting on the turtles.
That's perhaps a little much. And the turtles... Okay. No, having seen her and her boyfriend, partner, whatever relationship they have, and he works in a game store, and they're clearly into their sort of geekery of the world. They're fans of the Discworld, right?
You'd think.
So, Space Turtles and this is Channel 4, so they can name brands. Why?
Maybe she's just too flustered to really know what she's saying.
Is it a bit like us when we're faced with very straight people who aren't sure about this stuff, and we're like, oh yeah, it's just from a book I read. Not that I've got 40 of them downstairs. That kind of.
Yeah.
Kim Joy, if you hear this, these are based on the Discworld, right?
They're very cute.
They were very cute. I'm very pleased. I said, I think last time, I wish you would move away from cats. She did. She did turtles.
Turtles?
Yeah.
Turtles with orange liqueur inside them?
I didn't note, but definitely shoe turtles. With the Galaxy dark chocolate thing,
nice.
It was easily the best reveal. I thought she was pouring it too thin, but actually she poured it to break out into eights, to break into segments. It was very clever.
Yeah.
And she poured it out of a teapot.
She's very cute.
Now, the other rounds she didn't do quite so well in. Her roulade was clumsy, it was thick, she came sixth in the technical. She did very well there. I did see a comment about how did she not get Star Baker after that. Like, you've got to do all 3 rounds.
Yeah, and she had some fierce competition this week. I mean, both Dan and John, fierce.
She did very well. Should we talk Star Baker now?
Yeah, why not? We're there.
Dan shouldn't have won it.
John should have won it. Dan's ugly orange sphere was just... Yeah. I don't actually know how that was ever going to improve. I mean, I know it was like, oh, my spray cans run out of spray.
I think he was doing multiple layers of different colours to get a peach effect as well as the colour. So,
but yeah, that looked a bit rubbishy. Although apparently the insides of it tasted amazing, and I wouldn't have minded trying that actually.
It looked very good. I know he said about, oh yeah, I'm making mine straight into the sphere because that would be better. I don't think it is better.
No.
I think it's actually a bit strange when you then got it on this sphere. It was really nice that it was, and now it's an opera cake. Or a ballet cake.
Yes.
And the personal touches that he gave to it. I feel like John was robbed. I know we don't talk too much on the people themselves, but...
I just wonder if they felt that his showstopper wasn't sufficiently better than Dan's to outweigh Dan's win in the technical.
Yeah, possibly so.
But yeah, I think there must have been a hair's breadth in it.
Yeah, real shame.
Yeah.
There were 3 of them who used white chocolate. Menon's came out really well.
Yep.
Looked great.
Yep.
Really good. Ruby and Bryony both cracked.
Oh, Bryony.
Bryony's flavours, white chocolate, was it amaretto, amarane? Blood orange, sticky toffee pudding. Great. All
I'd have
of
eaten
it.
that.
But it did look bad.
Oh, it looked shocking.
Didn't melt as well. She had an absolute nightmare with this.
Yeah.
And this is not the first week where she's had a bit of a nightmare.
I think if they had been sending people home, I think this would have been Bryony's week to go.
I think it would have been very close. Yeah. And it clearly was very close. But yeah, because Karen was also in trouble. She had hers was the worst roulade. She came second to last in the technical. But her decadent cake, I think, came out better. It looked better, the sphere.
Yeah.
Again, she decorated onto the chocolate. The chocolate was not decorated.
Yeah.
She piped onto it. A little bit of a cheat compared to what everyone else did. But it also came off for her.
But that's actually what Manon did as well.
Yeah. And what John did.
Yeah.
And Rahul. This is not the first time she's done this.
Yeah.
So I feel like at some point, if she gets through these rounds with people being weaker than her, at some point it will be, actually, she doesn't have the skills to match up to Rahul and Kim Joy and some of the really detailed stuff they can do.
Yeah, she's not going to be in the final 3. And she's probably... I would be very surprised.
Yeah. We've talked about Star Baker, so let's talk about the people going home. No one went home.
No.
Because Terry was ill. I'm not surprised. They've done this before.
And I think it's the I think it's the right approach. I think it's sensible for them to get everyone to agree just to carry on at the start. Because if someone had been clearly awful, then they've got the ability to send them home. But actually, as it was, because to me there was no, Bryony
was very close, but yes.
But it wasn't just Bryony. I mean, and actually Ruby did a reverse Ruby, didn't she? She was quite good in the first 2 rounds, but then her showstopper was pretty poor.
Cracked and dry, I have here.
Yep, not good favours, hard to eat, tart's too thick. Yeah. I mean, that was a poor showstopper.
For the defence of Ruby, at the beginning, she said, I have been very close to going out every week so far. All I want is a good signature. And actually, I appreciate that level of realism, rather than because everyone else was kind of, right, I'm going to be on this, I'm going to get it done, I'm going to show how good I am. She was just, I'm going to do one really good round. I'm going to make sure I have at least lived up to some of my potential here. So I have a bit more respect and feeling for her compared to some of them who were just, can be great.
Yeah.
2 of them used balloons.
That seemed to me a more risky technique, but then it seemed to pay off.
Yeah, Karen's came off very, very well.
Yeah.
Rahul's not quite so. I mean, his broke a bit, which, fine. But his looked actually quite ugly because it was painted on the outside, whereas everyone else was painted on the inside, so you don't see it.
His until he decorated into his 2-level masterpiece, like just looking at the sphere itself, it wasn't elegant.
Yeah,
at all.
Yeah, so I don't think it was quite the right way to go.
No, I think the moulds were probably the better way to go. Yeah,
I feel like we have seen this before, though, doing the dipping of the bottom of the balloon to get cups. I'm sure we've seen that on here before.
I think so. Haven't you done that?
I've tried it. Didn't work.
Yeah.
I ended up with lots of chocolate-covered balloons that popped and then the chocolate cracked. So I think I did the chocolate wrong, is probably what that was. I try all the things. They don't always come off. I think we've covered most of the people here. Yeah. Manon was the other one who did white chocolate. Came up really well. Absolutely saved herself. If there were any worries about her, she pulled it out with that last round.
She seemed a lot more confident in using the white chocolate.
Yeah.
She seemed like very much that she either knew what she was doing or had practiced it to an inch of its life.
Absolutely. And I suspect they said about Bryony's being too thin. I suspect Manon's was very thick, knowing it would just melt.
Because white chocolate does just melt.
Absolutely, yeah. So, an interesting week. I feel the challenges on each of these, we've been a bit, not quite right. It's hard to tell apart from them. I mean, the showstopper, when they were tasting the showstopper, I think almost every single one of them, they were, this tastes wonderful. It's amazing. Great flavours.
Apart from poor Ruby. But yeah.
Apart from poor Ruby, but...
I understand why they looked like they felt a bit sick at the end of tasting that, because they were all so rich.
Yeah. And they were all using raspberries because they had to do a chocolate sphere, and raspberry goes really well with chocolate. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, the flavours were really good. I think, was it Karen maybe? Someone who didn't do the raspberries right. In fact, was that Ruby?
I think Karen needed more booze.
Yeah. There was someone who, I think they said the raspberry didn't come out. But by and large, it was all very good because it was just make a dessert and then, like you say, do this technical element of the skill, which came off to a greater or lesser extent for some of them. Let's talk about the editing. Did you notice anything about the editing this week, Catherine?
Why did they have a shot of the end of the show in the middle of the show?
Yeah. Really surprising. So when Rahul was walking back from having done his showstopper, the melting, they showed a shot of them all congratulating about no one going home.
Yeah.
And we watched that going, it's really strange. You can't tell who's going home, which I think set off the thinking of, they're going to do this thing again.
Yeah.
Which they did. In fact, thinking about it, they've done it twice. They did it once when someone was ill, and they sent 2 home the next week.
Yeah.
But I think it was an early season. They said, we'll send 2 home on a week. It just happened to be the next week.
Yep.
And they've done it once when the lady who used the other chap's custard or sauce or something, when she didn't come back the next week because she was ill. So they didn't send someone home.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah, I wonder if it's sensible just in case Terry doesn't actually come back at all.
Yeah,
actually,
depending on what was wrong with
as
him.
much as it being, this is only fair, it's also, this is only a way to protect ourselves.
Yeah, maybe. So yeah, the editing, that was really strange. That just suddenly came in there. We couldn't understand.
And I don't think it added anything to it. It just totally threw us out of it. But yeah, very odd.
Next week is Spice Week.
Interesting.
So first round they have to make ginger things.
Yeah.
Next round I think they make scary spice. And then the last round they were going to make push spice. last round they make in the last round they have to make Old Spice.
No, thank you.
Boom. Jokes from the 90s.
Bless you.
I couldn't tell what the technical was going to be.
It looked like the sweets that I bought from the special sweet shop in India, but I don't know. I don't know if it is.
No.
But that's what they look like.
Be interesting.
In the brief glimpse we got.
I'm a little worried about that one. We shall see. So this is our catch up for week 4.
Yep.
Norm went home. John was robbed of Star Baker.
Yep.
Join us next week for Spice Week.